the program time actually. That's the reason because let me briefly tell you what's happening in MMA next few days so that if you have missed it in your inbox, you don't attend. Not attending this program will be a great loss to you. And it's all outstanding programs. We have finalized program till end of November. Let me tell you what's happening so that you can attend few of them if you get time. Next event is happening on 15th of October. You know, October is busy month, Puja month, too many holidays, too many events are happening. So we have not kept too many events in October. Leading through the chaos, opportunities in global crisis. Sujan Shah is the Managing Director of BASF Catalyst and Head of Southeast Asia Worldwide BASF. He'll be talking to us. Brilliant speaker, very great experience. Then on 16th of October, we have Read and Grow series, Dare to Lead, Brave Work, Tough Conversations, All Hearts by Brent Brown. It's a good topic we've been talking. Srinivasan Ramprasad will be leading the conversation. Read and Grow is very popular with students, and we do it exclusively for the students because we strongly believe to be a great leader, you have to be a great reader. And we want to inculcate the habit of reading amongst the people so that they get to know. And I can happily tell you that a lot of students picked up the habit of reading because all the books, what we are discussing is also available in our Kindle copy as well as library. So more than happy to help students who would like to come and pick up the copy and read. On 22nd, again, another flagship event of MMA, 23rd All India Management Student Convention on the theme, what does it take to jumpstart a successful career? I can tell you it's an outstanding speakers, outstanding content is happening at IIT Research Park Auditorium. We expect over 1,000 students to attend in person. It's already sold out. So, no more. But we don't disappoint any students or anyone who want to watch this program. This program is webcast live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, everything. You can watch it. And we have some outstanding speakers. I don't want to go into the list of speakers. One is, I can say, Govinda is going to be talking in the inaugural session. Govinda is, again, very popular, 30 years corporate, Procter & Gamble. He worked in best of the corporates, including his advisor to the Prime Minister Council in terms of some of the initiatives taken by the Government of India. Please come, watch, listen, and as a part of student convention, we also conduct lots of competition. People who are watching this program live, if you are a student, Chanakya Mastermind is still open. The Chanakya Mastermind competition participation is free, where you have to just log into the MMA website, just write a few words about why you are the best manager. If you write well, then my team will connect with you. Then there is also a quiz part of the competition. Then if you qualify, team will connect with you and you'll have a personal interview. You get qualified. We already have more than 5,200 participants online for this, and we'll be shortlisting 50 people to come to MMA on 21st, where they'll be put through a series of tests by MMA special juries. The test will include psychometrics testing. Then we also have just a minute competition, then group discussion. From all this testing, then we pick up 10 students who will be participating in the finals at the Chanakya, the mastermind, happening at the auditorium. Those 10, we'll have a 5 jury. The first round of competition will be like a Miss World contest. That format what we follow. We do a funny video for a minute, think for a minute, and speak for a minute. At the end of the first round, we eliminate 5 based on the judge's judgment, based on the performance. Then thereafter, each judge will ask one question to each of the participant, and we pick up one Chanakya, the mastermind. Every Chanakya can be only one. We give a prize money of 1 lakh rupee to the student actually. So it's one of the most sought after competition. Besides that, we also have a number of competitions for the student convention. If you're not registered, still we have place for competitions. We have business plan, we have paper presentation, debate, the quiz. Please do participate. Not only you win lots of prize money, you also benchmark yourself with other people who are participating in the competition, as well as you bring laurels to the organization which you belong to. Please think it over. And still, Venkat has kept the competition thing open. You can still try and join that. Then on 6th of November, we have another interesting event, Navigating the Future, how tech innovation is to shaping the next decade. We have got again one of the technocrat, Magesh Ramachandran, founder, chief mentor of tech innovation, will be talking, one of the great brain in technology, and also he won't be discussing something which you never heard of otherwise. This man is totally different, I can assure you that. Then on Tuesday, the 12th of November, we have a talk on policing the 21st century. We have Mr. Vijay Kumar, IPS, former DGP, CRPF, former senior advisor, and also the one who eliminated Vijay Kumar is going to be talking to us. I don't want to really put a lot of sensation. It's a very interesting subject. He's a brilliant speaker. Please do come. It's on 12th of November. On 15th of November, again, we have Read Out and Grow for the month of November. On 18th of November, another interesting topic is Innovating for Future Strategic Entrepreneurship. We got Anil Kumar, founder, CEO of Freelance. He's from USA, done his master's from Booth University, and is also authority on entrepreneurship, done multiple startups and failed, succeed, and is also running a great startup. He's going to be talking to us. This is happening on 18th of November. Then on 27th of November, we also have another interesting topic, emerging technologies in defense. We have Mr. Dr. Satish Reddy is a scientific advisor to Raksha Mantri, Ministry of Defense, also former chairman of DRDO, and also Aeronautical Society is head. He's going to be talking to us. We have also got a couple of other programs done, but let me stop with this. And coming to today's event, we are indeed privileged and blessed to have this event with us at MMA. This is a subject which you all know, aware of it, and you read them extensively in the newspaper, watch them, televisions. At the same time, you wonder why this should happen actually. Why is the environment getting impacted? What is that we are doing something? And I know some of you read the statistics. In 1905, the population of that place, Wayanad, was some 75,000. Today we have more than 24 lakhs. Then how can the same place can take such a load? So it's all self-inflicted injury. But what happened? People come to save us. And what happened is one such person who was closely involved in the operation which saved so many lives there is very, very interesting. And we also learn a lot of leadership lessons from that. That's the reason we have set up this topic, Army's Wayanad Experience. This is peacetime challenges for Army Wayanad Experience. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hand together to welcome distinguished speaker for this evening, General Brar, AVSM, is the General Officer Commanding of Dakshin Bharat Area. And to chair the session, I request the President of MMA, Mr. Mahalingam, and is also the Partner Director of TSM Group. Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm round of applause for the speaker and the chairman. May I request you to take your place on the dais. Come. Ladies and gentlemen, the format of the session is as usual. And if you have any questions, especially viewers watching online, send your questions to the number which is flashed on your screen. The speaker has agreed to take all your questions. Please restrict your questions to what is relevant to the subject only. The format of the program is we will request our partner, Satyamurthy, to give opening remarks, short one. Then thereafter, Surya Prakash will give the welcome address, our honorary treasurer. Then I will request Satyamurthy to give the opening remarks. Then I will introduce both Mahalingam and Brar. Surya Prakash is honorary treasurer of MMA. He manages all our finance and is also executive director of Pure Chemicals Private Limited. He's a second generation entrepreneur and is from Bitfitani alumnus. He has transformed Pure Chemicals into a global leader in chemical manufacturing, distribution with a focus on innovation and research. He also spirits eco-friendly home hygiene brand like Wookie, which is experiencing rapid growth, and he's got over 1,000 employees, achieve an annual turnover of 4,000 plus crore under his dynamic leadership. And it's a great privilege to have him as a treasurer, and because our money is always safe and sound and grows substantially. I request Surya Prakash to deliver the welcome address. Ladies and gentlemen, maybe a warm round of applause to Surya Prakash.
Good evening, everybody. It's indeed my privilege to deliver this welcome address at this very special presentation on theme Peacetime Challenges, Army's Wayanad Experience by Lieutenant General K.S. Brar, organized by MMA in association with Konrad Adenauer Stiftung and Policy Matters. I consider it as an honor to welcome this evening Lieutenant General K.S. Brar, AVSM GOC Dakshin Bharat Area, the distinguished speaker of this evening, and Mr. K. Mahalingam, President, Madras Management Association, Partner Director, TSM Group of Companies, and Mr. N. Satyamurthy, Convener, Policy Matters, Chennai. I take this opportunity to welcome all delegates who have joined us this evening, guests, members of MMA all over Tamil Nadu and Pondicherry, and guests of partner organization Colors of Glory, and large number of participants from all over the country who have joined us online. For the benefit of our guests and invitees of various organizations, it gives me immense pleasure that MMA was established in the year 1956 and has evolved today as the largest management association in the country with over 8,000 members spread across 10 chapters in Tamil Nadu and Pondicherry. MMA has been awarded the best management association in the country 14 times in a row by All India Management. We are all aware the series of landslides that occurred at Punjari Mattam, Mundakkai, Shuramala and Vellirimala villages of Wayanad district, Kerala, in the early hours of 30 July 2024, resulting loss of life, displacement of many families within a matter of few hours. The landslides were caused by heavy rains that caused hillsides to collapse, destroying the area below. The disaster was one of the deadliest in Kerala's history, with reports over 230 fatalities, hundreds injured, and over 100 people reported missing. More than 1,500 houses and other buildings, including school, hospitals, Panchayat Bhavan, electricity board, and over 125 community buildings were damaged. The landslide also devastated a total area of 1,500 acres of land, including 770 acres of farmland. Thanks to the efforts of Indian Army, led by GOC Dakshin Bharat Area, along with National Disaster Response Force, Fire and Rescue Service, and Forest and Wildlife authorities, as well as NGO and volunteers, which launched a large-scale rescue mission. We could save many lives and assisted in relocation of hundreds of families until normalcy was restored. We are indeed fortunate to have Lieutenant General K.S. Brar amongst us this evening, who is the forefront of rescue operation. Welcome, sir. We are eagerly waiting to listen to you. I also take this opportunity to welcome past presidents of MMA, my colleagues from Management Committee, members of MMA, distinguished invitees, and management student members who have joined us at MMA and viewers all over the globe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sri Prakash, for doing the honor to deliver the formal welcome address. Now I request Mr. Satyamurthy, convener of policy matters. Satyamurthy has been very closely connected with MMA, and we do a lot of events together. Briefly tell about Satyamurthy. He's got so many achievements and accolades, but he is a veteran policy analyst, political commentator, specializing in politics, India's southern neighbors, particularly Maldives and Sri Lanka. I request Mr. Satyamurthy to deliver the opening remarks.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for the full house. This Wayanad Experience is still in our memory, and it will remain so for a lot more time to come. That's one reason, is because there was so much of news coverage, and possibly for the first time in peacetime operations, the armed forces came up with information, and General Brar is here to speak to us openly about it. This is a very rare occasion. As someone who has been covering Sri Lanka and Maldives for instance, we did a lot of things there. The services. For instance, Sri Lanka and the Maldives, the 2005 tsunami, we went there for relief operations. We went all the way up to Indonesia. But I don't think many in India even knew about it, other than those who were following those countries, not following even our armed forces contributions. Like as in 2014, Maldives, capital of Maldives, had a huge drinking water shortage. Indian Navy sent people. There is no record in public memory here. That way, without going into the details of today's event, which my earlier speakers and of course General Brar is going to speak about, I have only one request to General and through him the armed forces. Take your message to the people. They should know. And that is not happening, but this is a great occasion. Not only here, sir, even from Wayanad, there was a lot of coverage in the media. People should know what the armed forces are doing both in peacetime as well as during wartime. With that, I invite you, sir, for a wonderful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for saying the opening remarks. Now, it's indeed my proud privilege, as I mentioned, the format is let me have the privilege of introducing the General and Mr. Mahalingam. After Mahalingam's opening remarks, we request the General to do his presentation. Let me have the privilege of first introducing General. General is the General Officer commanding Dakshin Bharat Area, GOC, and since April 2023. With distinguished military career spanning nearly 4 decades, he has held key command positions, including brigade in GNK, UN mission in South Sudan, and an infantry division in the Western sector. Prior to this, he served as a Director General of Armed Forces Corps and leading advanced military technology projects. Lieutenant General Brar holds 2 MPhil degrees and has been decorated with AVSM and multiple commendations, one by CO and other one by GOC in Eastern Command thing. And one more thing I would like to say, General Brar is also member of the MMA Management Committee, contributes immensely for MMA's functioning, and very good thing, thought leader, is great support to MMA. Warm welcome to you, sir. Pleasure to have you with us. Let me have the privilege of introducing Mr. Mahalingam. Mahalingam, the President of Madras Management Association, Partner Director of TSM Group of Companies, a graduate from NIT Trichy and IIM Calcutta. He transformed the TSM Group into leading automobile aftermarket brand in South India. Mahalingam is a diversified TSM operations and financial services, real estate, and many of the improvements what had happened in MMA, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of quality of programs. All that credit goes to Mahalingam. He has been the front driving us from time to time to do this. Now I request Mahalingam to deliver the opening remark. Thereafter, I request General to share his presentation. Over to you, Mali.
You hear us? Thanks, Vijay Kumar. Surya, you made my job easier. Thank you. Professor Mr. Satyamurthy, you made it even easier. Thanks. Good evening, everybody. I think, as Mr. Satyamurthy said, to have a full house on a Thursday evening when it's raining, it's a tribute to the person seated next to me, Lieutenant Brar. And tribute to the story we're going to listen to. I think we're really fortunate to have him. And personally, pardon me if I sound like I'm bragging, this is the second time I have an opportunity to be seated beside him. First time was at an Innovation Award jury, and I must tell you, that was a truly educative experience. And this, I'm certain will be an inspiring experience. Mr. Brar is so full of insights and knowledge that apart from all that he's done, I think his thought process really amazes me. Thank you, General Brar, for doing this for us. MMA and all of us are really fortunate to have you here in person, listening to your story. Just a few words, for many of us, stories of the army are many times stories on the battlefronts, basically. There are Paramir Chakras and PVSMs, etc. The battles fought and the valor, the supreme sacrifice, etc. All those are extremely important for guarding a country. But I think no less important are the peacetime efforts of the army, basically. If they protect the country at the borders, at peacetime, they save thousands of lives. From the times I remember, whenever there's a flood in Chennai, whenever there's a natural disaster, whether it is a tsunami, the armed forces have always been around for us. But I'm not saying it's unfortunate, but the fact is that it has hardly got noticed, as Mr. Satyamurthy mentioned, hardly been publicized. They are the silent heroes in every sense of the word during natural disasters, calamities. And forget the wars, even in peace times, because given climate change, given the natural disaster we're going through, I think the army is pressed into service more than ever before during these tough times. And what about Wayanad? I don't want to say more than what Surya said. I think it was a disaster, partly natural and partly man-made in many ways. So I think an occasion like that, I understand from speaking to General Brar that they built a 190 feet bridge in less than 18 days across the river. So that is something spectacular. And these, and not in conditions which are extremely hostile in weather terms. I think that happened between the 30th morning and they started work on 30th evening, and in 18 hours they had finished. Spectacular. I don't think this is even thinkable by people who live in the comfort of the cities. I think we owe a big 3 cheers to the army for doing this. Fantastic. I know in a country which gets inspired by cricketing heroes, sports heroes, musicians, film stars, we celebrate them so much and get inspired by them. We get too little inspiration from our armed forces. I think this evening is going to be about that inspiration, I think, and that education. I think we should celebrate and get inspired by armed forces much more. In days of social media, even a YouTuber gets more attention than armed forces gets. I think it's time we celebrate our armed forces and get inspired by them. So, looking forward to a really inspiring evening, and thanking my stars and thanking General Brar for having rare opportunity sitting beside him to listen to this. Welcome, General Brar. I'm sure it's going to be a spectacularly inspiring evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can listen from here if you want.
Stand and present, I think.
I'll go there if you please.
This will be on. This is forward. Thank you for your very kind words, Mr. Mahalingam. Mr. Mahalingam, the President, Mr. Satyamurthy, Mr. Surya Prakash, Group Captain Vijay. It's always an honor to be present here to address this distinguished audience of MMA members and, of course, my fellow brother officers and veterans, and also those people who are online. This is my second address, and of course, as Mr. Mahalingam mentioned, that experience of being a jury member for the Startup Innovation was truly very, very educative and inspiring, and of course, that was again very, very good. Okay, coming to this topic of peacetime challenges, Army Wayanad Experience, I think I have slightly expanded the scope so that I will try and explain also certain aspects of Army functioning which may not be so clear to the general audience. And I have gone beyond Wayanad because there are so many other disasters, and maybe address the larger issue of disaster, which as a country I think we should be very well aware that we need to address. It is a national emergency which is happening, and the casualties and the damages which happen in natural disasters are much more than what happened in a war. This is the statistics of Asian Development Bank that from 2019 to 2023, the damages in India due to various disasters has been to the tune of $56 billion. And it has affected 56 million people. And there have been 10,000 deaths in disaster-related events. So, if we don't address this, we are actually heading for a disaster. So, Army addresses all kinds of things, and of course, disasters, one of the things which we do address. As also, coming to the role of Army, let me start by explaining. When I say Army, it's interchangeable. Yes, armed forces, Army, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard included. You see, we have a primary role of fighting the conventional and the sub-conventional. And of course, to fulfill this primary role, you can see right from independence, there have been numerous wars. And again, for the information of some, the consolidation of India was also through the armed forces, like Hyderabad, Goa, and many other places. So then we had the 47 war with Pakistan, 65, 71, Kargil, and it's continuing. Sub-conventional, Northeast and J&K, it's continuing. So, guarding the nation, security of the nation, and everything is, of course, our primary role. Military diplomacy, We have numerous exercises, Indian Army, Navy, Air Force with foreign countries. We have our military attaches all across the world. UN missions. The Indian peacekeeping forces are one of the largest and most sought after in United Nations, because wherever there is a danger or a problem, it's Indian peacekeepers who are called and they do well. The other countries, especially the Western and the Europe countries, are hardly there. So it is the Indian peacekeeper which, and I myself was in Congo and was sector commander in South Sudan. So South Sudan is a warring country even now, but it was quite bad when I was there. And secondary role we have maintenance of essential services. That is in case the primary organization, which may be, some organization goes on a strike, can be the oil corporation or the railways or somebody else. So army has the wherewithal to take on that role also. Fortunately, it is not happening recently, but earlier, as we had gained independence, there were many, many occasions when this happened. And coming to the last, that is aid to civil authority. Now, aid to civil authority, that is something which the civil authority has to request us. That it is beyond them to do this, so they have to requisition. And there is a process and a procedure. So first is law and order. Normally we don't get involved in law and order situation, because dealing with population is not what the army should be doing, because it can be very, very unpleasant. So we avoid it. And there have been very rare occasions when we have agreed to do this. It is not our job, it is job of the state. But yes, the second part, humanitarian aid and disaster relief, which we call as HADR operations. Here we are always forthcoming. And in most cases, because if we know the disaster is happening, we don't wait for requisition, as I'll be highlighting that. So I thought I'll just explain that how does army. So these are some of the major things. So if you see peacetime challenges, actually there is no peace nowadays. We are always at war in some form or the other. It is happening in, it's now happening in other domains, this cyber domain, and, even in space and information warfare, you see everything which is happening now. In fact, they say the form of warfare has changed. It is not going to be a conventional kind of attack against each other, but it will be in something which has been happening, which you see in various places. So coming to the HADR operations, this is just to highlight that Dakshin Bharat Area is responsible for 5 states of southern India, including Pondicherry and Lakshadweep. And you see all army formations which are located here are allocated responsibility for every district based on the appreciation and their earmark for that role. So why I'm highlighting this is, you see, when army is called, the most important thing, if you notice the box on top, the box on top is the most important, in which the red part is more important. If you don't anticipate, there's no planning, there's no preparation, coordination, rehearsal, decision making and allocation of responsibilities, the second part can't happen. If we have done well, the red part was already done. And that is done when we are sitting here. That is responsibility of the commanders to ensure that the person who is responsible for, let's say, some district, Trinuvallai or any other district, the person goes there, liases, he sees the area, he is ready with his stores, he knows the route, he knows how to go. So that is what the army does. And in case that is done by everybody, then obviously the efficiency will increase. But the first part which I want to highlight is the most important. And maybe I'll also point out what is the difference between the Central Armed Police Forces and Army or the armed forces. You see, it is the basic same stock, the same village people join. CAPFs are all BSF, CISF and all other police forces. So I'm talking difference. It is this box which is the difference. that the army officers, and you find the casualty rates of army officers very high in J&K because they're always leading from the front. So that is one point. Now coming to, I've just tabulated the various disasters which have taken place and in which army has been called in all these 5 states. The red ones are slightly more serious ones and the black ones are not so serious, but definitely there were some losses of life. So any loss of life, whether in serious or it doesn't matter. But if you can see, it doesn't require rocket science to make your analysis that for Tamil Nadu, the retreating monsoons, there is depression and you can see it is November. So November, December is the period when people have to be prepared. Likewise, if you go to the type of disasters which are happening, it's either floods or landslides. So why aren't we prepared for floods and landslides as a nation or a state? And that is of course afflicting whole of India, but I'm talking of the southern states which we are responsible for. This is another one where the various disasters of the previous I have mapped. The location also is generally known. It's very obvious the landslides are going to happen in mountains in Western Ghats. The Krishna, Godavari basins are the places where your floods will occur. And of course, the cyclonic activities on the coastal. So what I'm trying to highlight to that box, that we have a role of not this, we only are called for when the disaster happens. But to address the larger issue of disasters, I think it can be done, but it requires, it is not to point out at one agency, it is a whole of, in fact, the consciousness of the citizens and maybe through the MMA, this aspect is very important that disaster is taken not as a subject of government or this thing, this is part of, I think, every corporate, every school, every citizen of India. So therefore now coming to this HADR ops, I highlighted that the preparation rehearsals are the more important ones. So I'm using photographs because, I can't take you there. The best thing I can do is show you photographs of we having done few things. So you can see that layout of all our stores are done and we inspect that stores. In the left side, you see people, they are trained on, there's a training of whether you have to go on a boat or paddling a boat or loading things. You see, nobody can suddenly do something unless he is trained. So training, preparation, rehearsals, then coordination meetings with everybody because after all, it is the district administration and the state which calls us that they need the armed forces. So liaising with them, going to places and seeing where the things are very, very important. So I'll just highlight, during my tenure, at least 4 or 5 disasters I've handled, Wayanad being the most major one. But I'll start from Cyclone Migjom, which struck in December last year. So these are basic data that from 4 to 6, it was basically the garrison battalion which was deployed and about 4,000 people were evacuated and 2,561 food and amenities. I'll go over some of the points on this, but I'd like to highlight this. You see, you have to be tracking the cyclone and one was doing it. But then, where does your leadership or where does your understanding of things come in? This cyclone, if you see the news item on the left, it was saying that cyclone is heading towards Odisha and 7 districts on alert and all that. This is of 30th November. But basic common sense of army, you have experienced a lot of these things, you know when to act and take a decision. I said that it is going to hit Chennai. And we were prepared because we are in a low-lying area, we had already warned our people and had warned the garrison battalion to be ready, you will be called within 1 hour. So in my earlier conversation with the administration, including the chief secretary, they said it's maybe heading towards you better be prepared, it's your call, it's not my charter in any case. So, but it struck on 3rd or 4th December. And you can see that the photographs highlight that the Indian Army, the garrison battalion were working day in and out. The problems which occurred, I don't know how many of people who were affected, but the people who were affected were because where the water was, the electricity was cut off. And if the electricity is cut off, then everything finishes, especially your mobile and even your communication. The water also stopped. So it was kind of, there were families with small children, there were old people, and there were in fact, maybe this photo and next photo, ladies who were pregnant. There was in fact one girl who had to get married. She said, if I don't reach a place, my marriage will get into a issue. So, there are so many of these human stories. In fact, we have so many videos, and I think we may send it to you to showcase. As you said, the armies, all these things are not highlighted. So that was done continuously, and food, water, and helping. I can say that there were many organizations, yes, everybody helped, but we were working day and night. Not many do that. You have seen that in Wayanad yourself. So anybody who's deployed, he does 24/7. So that was what was being done continuously. And those were 3 or 4 days, and we got a lot of appreciation and from the people who this thing, but definitely it doesn't get that highlight, which, as somebody said, your heroes get it, Shah Rukh Khan or whoever all are there. So, but notwithstanding, that's not, in any case, we don't want to compare, armed forces officer, we don't like to compare ourselves with heroes. They are only acting. So there were a lot of good media coverage during that time and a lot of this thing. But at the same time, there was, an orange alert. And now, orange alerts, these are general alerts, but then again, you again have to take a decision. So that is your decision in corporate leadership, in corporate understanding, or in war. The person on top has to be decisive. So therefore, here also we readied the troops. Now, because the distance, it was South Tamil Nadu, so it was units from Trivandrum, which moved there, and from Wellington. That is Madras Regimental Center. So again, these people did a tremendously good job, and it was a rural area, and the villages and other things, and again it is the same problem of food, water. You see, small children without water and food, to some extent, it becomes almost as a emergency situation, and people were stranded, so all these people were helped out. And of course, appreciation does come. This was DO from the Chief Secretary to me, thanking, and from the Greater Chennai Corporation. And of course, the governor also, I spoke to the governor, so he was kind enough to honor the units which had done. So he gave each governor has a governor's citation which he can give, like you have president's citation. So he gave these 3 citations to the 3 people, 12 Madras Regimental Center, 23 Maratha. This is the unit which participated in this. I'll highlight another minor landslide which took place in Karnataka, because you're asking for lessons. So again, this landslide happened. It also, if people were following news, a truck had got buried. So in this case, of course, we went and helped and all. But since corporates are there, so I am also heavy in tech. Why doesn't the corporate industry make something? Because it was a problem in Wayanad also, to detect people who are under landslide. So this is a thing, because landslides are happening not now, they have been happening since so many 30, 40 years. So this is a basic equipment in which we need to take out somebody who's under a landslide. But we managed to get a ground penetrating radar from CME Pune, and we discovered the truck. But those efforts are army, but everybody else has to join that effort. So it was a one landslide, fortunately, but of course the number of casualties were less. Now coming to the topic, I'll take slightly more time on this Wayanad landslide and floods. So I gave you this background. So background I'm trying to give you is build up that it is the decision making, it is the action, it is the training, and it is everything done earlier by which you are able to tell that XYZ go. So I have given a timeline on 30th. 5:30 call came to me that there's some kind of a landslide, because it happened in the night. If people who have followed it, it happened in the night of 29th, 30th. So by 5, it was not even clear. It is dark that what exactly, but of course there was something very, very terrible which has happened. So at 5:30, because of sensing and whatever little information I got, I told, without taking permission, because they have to requisition. I know now I can't wait for that. So we ordered troops to move. So there's a TA battalion in Calicut, it was told to move. There's a DSC center in Kannur, which we told to move immediately. So, and medical teams, there is a military hospital in this thing. So we said, obviously, medical teams are part of it. They were to move. Then after about an hour or so, it became clear that landslides, of course, it was daylight and people gave a more clear report with some photographs coming, videos coming, that the bridges have been washed off, and now on the other side, people are under landslide and there's no way that you can go across to get those people or help them out. So you need a bridge. So, the decision to, there's a, this Bailey Bridge, which has become quite famous in the news. This is a bridge which is in Bangalore with a MEG center, which is used for training of troops. So normally we don't move our training equipment. But at 8 o'clock, I took that decision, seeing the emergency, that you move the bridge. Because as it was spoken earlier, that the bridge came up. The bridge couldn't have come up if it had not moved, because this bridge requires about 22 vehicles to take it. So by 8 o'clock, I gave the decision. I think my understanding is, because, I'm not going to technical details. And since I am from armored tanks, when there is war, we cross all river obstacles on these bridges. So knowledge of bridges is quite intimate to an armored column. There are PMP, PMS bridges, there's MGB bridges, there's BLT, there's AM50. So, various kind of bridges which are there in the army. So this Bailey Bridge also was said, because the speed, because they have bridges with the trestles. So there was no way of putting a trestle, because the flow of that river or landslide was so fast, the bridge has to be from end to end. It had to take support of both the ends. So that is why, apart from all the bridges, I chose move Bailey Bridge. So it was moved, and it took about 18 hours or something. So they must have taken, because this readiness has to be there, but definitely readiness for a Bailey Bridge is, so I will commend that they took that thing of moving the bridge by 100 hours. After about an hour, 2 the vehicles were brought, and by night they moved all night, and they reached that place on 30th. The landslide happened, so they were there on 30th night of first early morning, and they started constructing on 1st. And I think by 2nd, the news came that the bridge is ready. Why I'm highlighting some other aspects on the slide, which are that there are some other units also which were earmarked when they started moving. And then sniffer dogs were moved out. So this being such a huge tragedy, and if you are watching the news, in fact, when the day started in the parliament, it was all ruckus and people saying, but the saving grace to the people who were supposed to, that our army was there when the parliament debate started, and they were quite surprised that how is army there when, in normal way of functioning, if something has happened in the night and something which is about 200, 300, and how did the army reach? So that is why I am again highlighting that the decision to move was taken and army was there. And in addition, which I think I have not mentioned here, we have something called, flying foxes. There are some footbridges, which I think again you would have seen on the TV. They were put up. So I said, before the Bailey Bridge comes, at least have some of these minor things being put so that, people can cross over from one side to the other. So GOC, that is the 31st. There's a general officer who's under me, Major General Matthews. He's based in Bangalore. So I said, seeing normally, all this is handled by a brigadier or even a colonel, but I thought, because, all senior politicians and everybody was clamoring on, whether it's better you go, because, it needs a slight bit of mature handling. So I told him to move there. And then the footbridge was established in the morning of 31st July as a written. And then, whatever we may say, some of the states like Kerala, whatever happened, one cannot say, but at least for this disaster, they got their act together. And the the chief minister himself chaired this meeting along with the chief secretary. I'll show the slide. And so everybody who was there was part of this VC, which was on the next day, that what plans have to be done, and I have written and rest of the things. And then, we also got direction that if you need anything from anywhere, it will be flown. So in fact, the units which were in Trivandrum, we can move by road, but they got a lift from 130, that's the airlift from Trivandrum to Kannur. So the troops also moved by air, and the whole machinery started functioning. So this was the VC which happened. I'm just showing this, and if you can see the box which is below, that is a 50 outstation. So anybody who was related to this was in this VC. So ultimately, there is a system which does function, in which anybody who's involved in disaster management, whether state, health, all the various organizations of the state, they were there, and of course NDRF and other people. And the box where you see this general officer with the lady, he is General Matthews, and the chief minister is the other red box with his ministers. This top right box is the NDRF head. I will cover that slightly later also. So in this meeting, all things were coordinated, and what is happening and what is not happening, and what each organization or each agency can do in such a disaster. So this is a photo of the general officer trying to explain to the chief minister, and since he is from Kerala, he could speak the language. So the deployment of various columns which got deployed were 91 Brigade, 122 TA, DSC, MEG, medical teams, and there were ETF, his Engineer Task Forces, MEG Center. So some of the photos, of course, are not very good, but these photos may not have come. It was as terrible as you see in these photos, that people were buried under this, or they were this thing. So because of the bridge and because of everybody's effort, and I must here also highlight, there were a lot of volunteers which came up, and a lot of people helping out. And I think in such a tragedy, everybody does come out, and must have rescued, I think, thousands. Of course, unfortunately, there were many casualties which came out in the papers, but thanks to the efforts of whatever everybody did, and of course the Indian Armed Forces, there was this thing. And of course, Navy also, they airdropped and airlifted. Of course, that part I'm not covering, but they also played a major role. Of course, Navy as such didn't have a role, but it's all three armed forces when they come. So this is that rappelling and other things. I mean, this flying fox, or trying to establish a connect from one end to the other, and trying to this thing. So this was the footbridge which was established, so at least you can have connectivity, because the other side was totally cut off. It was marooned. And other thing which I think which happened, when army comes in on the first day within 3-4 hours, everybody, that is a good sign which one has found in every place here and earlier in any place where there is a disaster, that the people get a lot of confidence that there is one organization which is there, and that actually makes a difference, at least to the ill and the ladies and others, And these are photos of the bridge which was made, the famous bridge. So as if you can see, it doesn't have this thing, so it was working day in and out and night. So that way this bridge is class 50 tons. Class 50 means you can take almost a tank or less than a tank, but you can take all your heavy JCB and all others, because other side, how will you remove if you can't take a JCB and your heavy equipment? So this was done on in 18 hours, or 18 to 19 hours the thing was built. So moved on 30th morning, reached there 30th night or early morning, and started work, because you have to prepare the banks and all. So by first morning it was ready, or first early morning it was ready. So total, so to say, in 48 hours including move. So about 24 hours for move and this thing, and 24 hours for that. Thank you for that. So that was Wayanad, but I just wanted to show you more. Ki September, in this month itself, there were things in Vijayawada, Kakinada. So again, our people moved from Hyderabad. So this I just want to highlight, because when the breaches occur and these things occur, because if it is a flood, so if you close the breach earlier, it is the best. Because once the breach becomes so wide, then you can't even close it. So whether it's state or this thing, so that's why I'm highlighting, because these are small things. So decision making, leadership becomes very, very, because if your people are trained, they will execute the job well. So the breach occurred on 2nd, but when they couldn't do it, then they called us on 5th. By that time, there were 10 breaches, and the breaches were more than 100 meters. So then it becomes 10 times the effort. So I'll show you, because you can see this, if you can make out the breaches from this island, this below photo. So this canal had, breached. This was a canal because the overflow from the earlier, I think the Godavari basin connecting a canal going someplace, that had got breached. So if all agencies, when the water is released, there is, if the breaches are going to take place, you have to make sure you do stone pitching and other things. So how do we close the breach? Because Indian Army comes out with a solution. So we have something called HESCO bags, which we make for defenses. So in that we put sand and mud and started closing the gap, because this solution you will not find in with anybody in civil. So for every problem, because we are in war, you have to be crossing obstacles, you have to be doing certain things. So within our army, various arms and services, we will have a solution for almost every problem. Whether it's medical or whether it's engineering problem or whether it's mechanical or whether it's something else. So this iron cage was made and this thing, and so the breaches were closed. So again, day and night work, continuous work. And the earlier photo where there was a gap, you can see this below, this gap has been breached up. So I think, so I was making sure I cover everything in time, so there's some questions. So I come to the last part. Having done so much, so as far as disasters are concerned, those who may not be aware that the disaster NDMA is the highest level which has been formed since 2005. There's the NDMA Act, National Disaster Management Authority. There are 3 members in it, and of course it has an organization, and then there are NDRF battalions, which are basically people from the police forces who are part of this. There are 16 NDRF battalions, and each state is supposed to have its own state disaster relief force, SDRFs. So Tamil Nadu should have it. So without naming states, some states have good SDRFs, some states don't. So the state is also responsible for having SDRFs and NDRFs. So seeing what we have been doing, the NDMA, and it has an officer from retired from the Army, General Atta Hasnain, and there are 2 other members. So they said we'll have an integrated symposium, which we had a very big integrated symposium of all 5 states, all SDMAs, the State Disaster Management Authority, the SDRFs, the central agencies like the Weather Department, IMD, Central Water Commission, INCOIS, that is ocean monitoring, the fire services, the chemical disaster people, the CISF. So everybody was called in southern this thing, and we had a very good symposium for these 2 days. And these are some of the photographs of the symposium. The person you see in white shirt and this thing is Lieutenant General, he is a member of NDMA. And the one in uniform is DG of NDRF, Mr. Piyush Anand, I think. He is the DG of area, he is from police. So we had this seminar, and we discussed all the issues which need to be done, and each of these agencies which are supposed to be doing what all. So coming to the summary of disaster, as I said, I have slightly enhanced the scope. This is a slide, and I also gave a talk. Of course, this is part of, it's not that this is something new, but I made it very simple. I said there are 4 things which we need to address for disaster. The mitigation measures have to be there because, as I said, you can make out what are the kind of disasters and what are the remedies which you can do. Then you have to have a readiness posture, which I highlighted how we do it in Army or Armed Forces. And on occurrence, what you're supposed to do and how you execute it. And after every disaster, there has to be lesson learned and go to the mitigation measures. So, anthropogenic causes are the ones which the humans, all causes are because of what we have done, whether it's deforestation or mining or encroaching on areas where there are lake or riverbeds and like urban heat islands. I was again in a seminar of urban heat islands here in Madras University where they called me to speak. The Madras city, so that was my theory that why did the cyclone, when it was going to Odisha, because this is a heat island, area of depression. So wherever there is a city, the cyclone will hit it. Obviously, which is because this is a heated area, it's a heat island. That is the term I think some people of, so we have to use, a lot of technology is there by which we can, so whether it's through satellite, we can map areas, we can do a lot of things. And there are people with startups and other people who are in these various academic, we can mitigate. So this is a larger thing which the NDMA, the states, the government has to do. The armed forces, obviously, you look at our areas of camps, we make sure they are the areas which are environmental friendly. There are enough spaces. And most of the time, somebody may think that this is a good area, army. But I can tell you, if you take away army from that, that will become an area where you will have a natural disaster. So Delhi, Kent and all are surviving thanks to army being there and the pollutions are settled lighter. That is applicable to all the metros. So readiness, earmarking troops, I have given you examples, early warning system, we have to have a system and all these things are getting into place. In the symposium which we had, there are methods of passing messages and all those things were discussed. So there's technology to inform everybody and things are improving from from earlier disasters. If there's a disaster like in Odisha, people were evacuated, there was hardly any casualties from earlier times. And on occurrence, the action has to be done immediately. And of course, after action reports have to be done. So, it is up to humans to do it because, animals don't create any kind of action which disturbs nature. So the responsibility comes to each and every one of us to make sure that Wayanads don't happen and Wayanad, not getting into again the debate which is happening. If trees are cut, if mining is happening, whether it is X state or Y state or Z state, it will happen. And if you don't have, there's heavy rain in Bangalore or here or any city in North India, Gurgaon, if there's no space for the water to go, it will get flooded. So if there are no storm drains or drainage system has not been sorted out or at least the planning has, so all these things are what we are doing. So our effort as armed forces only to do the best which we can in the various roles which the nation would call us to do. So I had kept it brief and to the point and also tried to cover whatever little things I thought needed to be covered to cover only the Wayanad thing, but to give you a broader picture. So thank you so much, and I think there are some question and answers, otherwise, okay.
Over 680 viewers watching this program online, and I got lots of questions online. And if there are any question here, normally we take questions in question slip only. Today we make an exception. We go out at the microphone. We pass the mic. Anybody has got a question? I want it to be very brief so that we can take more questions. We got another 20 minutes for the question session. Let me go to the first question, sir, which has come from Sandeep from Chennai. What are the key leadership lessons from the Wayanad operations would you pass on to the young leaders in the military and beyond? How can these lessons be applied in civil leadership?
Okay, on leadership, I'll just tell you the difference between a military leader and other leaders. A corporate leader or any other leader, how do you incentivize? By giving him promotion, giving him more money, giving him more salary. And he has to produce results. But a military leader, firstly, has no extra money to give to the people he is inspiring. Plus, he expects if the task requires him to die for the nation, he should be willing to do it. So the difference between a military leader and all other leaders is quite distinct, because you're expecting your command to die for some objective it is required. And as also you can't give him anything which is monetary. So the leadership qualities which demand such things is of a different level. And that can only come, that's why I tried to highlight. Unless the Indian Army officers are of that caliber, otherwise no troops will follow you. So therefore, and you have to lead from the front. So you have to be part of your troops, you have to be leading them. There's no, I think, not even a minor action which is not without an officer. So these leadership qualities are of a different level, but definitely disaster management, as I have tried to highlight, I think I was anticipating the question. Decision making is something which is common to corporates. Anticipation of what is going to happen, your vision, and you anticipate that you will be called to do such a thing, is actually the most important quality of a leader, in which he can, because if he doesn't have the sense and the capability, whether it's a corporate, now one corporate to another corporate, you are, if I can take example of whatever that Kodak, why didn't they anticipate they'll be out of business when mobile cameras came in? So they didn't change. So they went out of business. So similarly, if you can't anticipate that after mobile, what is going to happen, how will AI affect you, how will other things impact you? So you have to, now the earlier leadership quality demanded some general wisdom. But now the leaders have to be very tech savvy, which includes the Indian Armed Forces. You've seen that mobiles have busted in recently. So all warfare will be so high tech. And if our leaders, especially the armed forces leaders, have to be very, very high tech and calibrated. So there is a leadership lesson for the senior leaders. There's a lesson for the middle leaders. And the people who are on ground, they have to lead from front and anticipate and do things. So I can give you a whole list of things, but this all comes naturally to armed forces, and that's why we do well. Because there is nothing which is that this disaster it has happened and we get posted to Northeast, JNK, like I said, UN missions and all. So all these things become part of you. So you become good leaders, and leaders is something which you don't become you have to be doing it right from your inception. And as you grow in service, you start taking decision and risk, you become a good leader. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Here's a question from one of the IA veterans here. May or may not like to take this question, sir. Are there any plans for mitigating chemical and biological warfare? I know not relevant to the topic.
There are agencies who are responsible for that. We discussed that. Because, chemical, biological and all these things can happen because of natural causes also. Like Chernobyl, and in Japan it has happened. And if some biotech industry also leaks out because of not taking precautions. So, the cause can be enemy or your cause can be something else. So, the mitigation measures have to be there. So, therefore, definitely there are agencies which are preparing for it, and there are. And as within army also, because we deal with this, if those agencies require, we can also chip in trying to mitigate this, because we are supposed to be working in a CBRN environment in case there is somebody who does a tactical nuclear weapon or something like that.
Thank you, sir. Here's a question from Mr. Pandian. He's here. He says he's a blogger. He says, we Indians cross well-laid nature's boundaries. Each has its own, ecosystem. How do we change this mentality?
No, sorry, sir.
We Indians cross well-laid nature's boundaries.
Acha, we cross nature's boundary.
boundaries. Each has its own ecosystem. How do we change this mentality? I mean, how do we...
Okay, we are spoiling nature. How do we do it? Yeah, that's a collective effort, I think. Since I will give credit to the armed forces to some extent. You see, when we are also deployed in hills, you will find nothing going wrong where we are deployed. But if there's a hill station, like some of the very good hill stations have got crowded and they become less of a hill station, more of this thing which more so in the north. So, it has to be collective responsibility. Now there are some very good examples within our country also, people are doing good work. But let's say Netherlands, all of them have taken a collective decision to cycle, which I think most of us know. So if everybody is cycling, then, it solves so many problems of pollution, this thing and that thing. So cycling is something which as a nation we start doing. And everywhere it is, the thing that I should be taken, not realizing that we may clean our own house. Indians, we clean our own house very well and throw the muck outside, not realizing that is part of our environment. So till the time we start realizing that we have a larger role, and Indian Armed Forces say that nation come first. So if everybody starts feeling that we have to take part of the larger this thing of, let's say, Chennai city or something, everybody starts cleaning, I think Chennai city can get cleaned very fast. So it is just an initiative. It shouldn't be a one-day event on 2nd October. It should be done on a regular basis. And some of the poor countries, like poor means not so good in Africa, they are very clean. They may not be having things, but as a country or a town or a city, they are clean. And when we go abroad, definitely we follow all discipline.
Thank you. The next question is from Mr. Ranga from Coimbatore. He says, during the Wayanad landslide crisis, how did your team rapidly adapt to such unpredictable conditions? What strategies did the Indian Army implement to ensure a swift and effective response for such a calamity? You mentioned...
I have mentioned that, but Indian Armed Forces or anybody who's in such area, when you see such a tragedy, they rise above their petty things. In fact, there were some photos where, soldiers were just lying and sleeping, and some of the other part was making the bridge, and they were then changing role. And there was a boy, I'm forgetting his name, Ravi. He said that I want to join army because I see these boys working day and night and only drinking water and biscuit. So that boy had tweeted, it became slightly viral. In fact, I wish I had shown the tweet of that boy. So it came in the news and we replied also that we'll take you in the army and things like that. So adapting to, it all starts from, as I said, when officers we join India, we are transformed. You see, our academies transform us. We come from all kinds of backgrounds, all kinds of state of mind. Our academies are the starting place where we get transformed. Then we start functioning in a unit, we get transformed. Same happens to soldiers in the centers. There are about 10 centers which are under Dakshin Bharat Area of various para centers is there, Maratha, Madras, engineers, RT, all these centers are there. So there the soldier gets transformed. And then they join the unit and then you work as a team because everywhere you're working as a group. And then you're seeing challenges right from the day you enter army. So this challenge or that challenge is not something which is you're facing for the first time. You're quite accustomed to facing that. So unless until, somebody who's just got commissioned or just joined the army, it may be his first disaster. But I think most of us have seen enough of these at various levels or certain other situations.
Something similar questions from Mr. Calvin from Alapura. He says, what kind of training and preparation does the Indian Army provide to ensure its personnel are ready for unpredictable crises like a Wayanad disaster? Are there new approaches being implemented to prepare for the future global crisis where Indian Army supports international disaster management?
You see, I'll answer that global part, which I should have mentioned maybe in my talk also. There was an earthquake in Turkey. We sent, despite whatever our relations, but it is, I think, India only which sent a team there, and the medical team which did a good job. Again, there was a lady medical officer whose photo went viral with an old lady. So we have been sending to Nepal, we have sent to Sri Lanka, and wherever, these things happen as a nation with more abilities and armed forces, we have been sending. So the part which Navy does is this anti-piracy operation also you would have seen. I'm talking on behalf of the Navy. Indian Navy is playing a lead role in containing piracy of Houthi, Yemen and that place, Somalia. And so, as I said, any UN functioning, Indian armed forces always sought after and they are at the highest level. So we have an experience in leading global all these things. So that is not a problem in that sense.
Next question is from Ari Prasad. Yes, we are really global in this area. Ari Prasad from Trichy is, so given the increasing frequency of natural disaster, how does the military plan to scale its resources to support future crises while balancing its primary defense responsibilities?
Okay, just to answer the previous, just a point. Maybe, your audience would like to know how UN missions are conducted. So, since I've taken part in number, maybe the next talk can be planned on how India does UN missions. Yes. So, this question, sir.
Sir, the question is, he says, given the increasing frequency of natural disaster, how does the military plan to scale its resources to support future crises while balancing its primary defense responsibilities?
Both these, as I showed in the slide, is well balanced. As far as Indian Armed Forces is concerned, all crises we are ready. That's not an issue. Yes, as I said, what I highlighted also, it is some of the, we should be getting some technology which makes things easier. It is for the industry. I think this is the industry here, which should think of methods and means by which, you can make our task easier. If you have to breach a canal, somebody should come up with a solution, a startup. Or if you, as I said, you have to find somebody buried under a landslide, then somebody should help it. Or, all the things. In fact, this making of, yes, the Bailey Bridge is a very heavy thing, but footbridges can easily be designed to cross. So all these things and technology, the better it is, the better the armed forces. So that is what actually was part of the symposium, which I and everybody else also mentioned, that all states where they know what disasters are happening, why don't you procure that equipment which is already available and think of something new? And we don't have to waste time. Suppose a bridge-like thing was already in Wayanad, we would have constructed in, 12 hours. So we have told all states that make a HADR brick available at your district headquarters so that we don't waste time carrying, we send the troops and do the job. And of course, the stores will come. So many points like this to enhance the efficiency of things are concerned. So I want to highlight, unless people are these things, you see, we will only go once we are asked for. And the people who are responsible say, they need our help. So the state and the SDRF and the SDMA have to really get up and come to a level where they say that army is possibly not required. But I don't think there's any disaster where the army is not being called.
Yes, sir. I think they are equipping NDRF technically and very good. Here's a question from Kalyani from Nandanam, Chennai. He says, what were some of the toughest challenges your team faced during the rescue operations in Wayanad? And how were they overcome? How do such experience refine the Army's approach to future disaster relief missions?
You see, physical and all this thing is not an issue for the armed forces, but something which was very heartbreaking and something which is, I think those photos, there were many people who had expired. And because of the landslide, their bodies were in parts. So, that does affect anybody's psyche. So if you want, from my opinion and whatever one knows from the feedback which was coming, that handling that was something which was very, very, because nobody was going near also. So removing people who were expired and in some parts, and that thing was traumatizing to some extent, will be to anybody who's there. Even to our strongest, so-called, if you say the soldiers are strong or officers are strong. So.
On the 5 minutes, I'll try and squeeze in as many questions as possible. Here's a question from Mr. Naveen from Chennai again. From your experience in leading Operation Wayanad, what leadership qualities are most crucial when managing chaotic situations and natural disasters? How can these qualities be developed in leaders in the corporates who face disasters almost every day?
Corporates face disasters. You see, I think I've kind of answered that question, but if one is to think from a corporate side, your team has to be very motivated to perform. And I gave that example, we don't have any money or this thing, but corporate people have, demanding his life. But you are expecting him to remain motivated, and you are expecting him to perform this thing and to be less complaining, because people from the defense forces don't complain, because they have seen such bigger tragedies that for them sitting under a sun without fan or some hunger and all is not an issue. Whereas somebody working in corporate, he'll say, I've worked, I have not had food, I have not had water, or AC is not working. So maybe the way for corporate is to possibly get closer to armed forces and realize, because when you find that, when you see people from humble backgrounds, how they are struggling, possibly you realize that you're so well off and you be thankful to God. So it is a question of, I think, motivating your organization, which the army officers can do well. I think there are a lot of veterans who join corporates and do become very good leaders, because this aspect of leadership doesn't come from the civil, generally, I feel. And so therefore, keeping your team motivated, because everything is teamwork, whether in war or disaster, but more so in corporate also. And making sure that you are fair to everybody. That is an important decision in which, you don't differentiate between X, Y because of various reasons. It is the merit which should be ensured, because, your company or your organization will do well with somebody who's good, not because he's your friend or some relation. So if you want your company to do well, you have to make sure the merit is the most, and you have to be fair. And you have to, inspire that fairness. And of course, your personal qualities as a leader have to be above board. Unless, I can be giving good lectures, but if I don't do it on ground, then everything will be zilch. He says nobody may speak in front of me, but he knows he just speaks. Otherwise, though, he himself is, not an honest person or something like that. So honesty is again, honesty is a very, very big quality in, I think, every aspect of life. If India was non-corrupt, I think we would be already 10 trillion, because a lot of things are going down, various things.
Very, very true, sir. I know corporates are facing different type of disaster. Disaster is work-life balance. We'll have soon a talk on that. Here is a question from Nandini from Tanjavur. Say, from a global perspective, how does the Indian Army learn from the international disaster response operations? Are there any best practices or technology adapted from other countries in your disaster response strategy?
You see, like I said now, if you have the UN thing, one will. I can tell you, all other armies. I'm not trying to unnecessarily say we are much ahead of any army of the world in anything. So, in fact, on the contrary, they have to learn from us. As for Indian armed force, that is more than clear to everybody. I mean, even if you can see world wars, it was the Indian soldiers which got them victory, though in all movies, you will not find, Normandy landing or these war movies. You will not find any Indian face. You will have whites. But World War II, the British Army won because of Indian soldiers. And yes, but not deriding, but some of they have technology, These are the things which I mentioned. What they have good is technology, what they have is equipment, they have their processes. But human resource, ours is the best, without any doubt, in disaster or anything else, more or less. Yes, we have competition with XYZ countries, but it is not that, we are generally on the top list if you say that, how are things? Because I want to show you the UN thing because, okay, I'll mention it maybe then in the lecture. I was commanding a sector where there was a Chinese post. When they got fired, they vacated the post and ran away. So that news I will show you. And because of the things, the force commander was sacked because what Chinese ran away. So, these are the things which happen, which don't get highlighted because Chinese has a good media. So,
Another 4 minutes. Two more questions, sir. One is from Divya from Chennai again. In a national calamity, how does the Indian Army collaborate with local government and civilian agencies to optimize disaster response? What improvements can be made to enhance this cooperation, better understanding between civil military, which is always coming to some misunderstanding at sometimes?
you see, as far as disaster things are concerned, and I will give you a personal example, I've already said you can do all that liaison coordination. But at each level, it also depends on your style. Like now he has changed. The Secretary for Revenue and Disaster was Mr. Nantha Kumar. And I was in touch with the previous, when all these things we were handling, we were on WhatsApp. So, the liaison coordination is when you're working together, that he said, because he said, okay, what can you do? I said, we can do this and all. So, the liaison coordination with civil is your personal connect also, which matters and which should be there, because if the connect is not there at all levels, the performance obviously suffers. So, there's no official thing. So, we were exchanging as if we were part of one system of what needs to be done. So suddenly he said floods are going to happen. I said, okay, I'll mobilize them. I was ready, like all the sequence of events I said. So similarly, with the DC and other places, the officers who are at, colonels and below, they have a connect. So personal connect is something. So again, going back to this symposium, normally you're speaking, you don't know who's the person there. And most of the time, the civil people don't know who in the army to connect. But here we were together for 2 days, so everybody knows each other personally by name now. So that is what needs to be done more and more. And maybe my speaking to you, though you may not be in disaster, but you will feel that things are okay. I mean, it's not that there is some kind of a divide. Most of the divide is in the mind, and some of it thanks to the media, because because the media, I just want to, not on the media, but because, we are reading one news. I'm just saying we are reading one news which is not so positive. So we only remember that. But we don't see 1,000 other positive things which are happening, which is opposite of the news. So therefore we develop an idea because of what we are reading and not what we are seeing. If you look around, there is no problem. But sometimes now the social media is giving you a feed that all this is happening. But has somebody seen it happening? No.
One last question for the evening, sir. It's from Mukesh from Hyderabad. He says, how important is the public awareness and community engagement during a crisis like this, Wayanad? What steps can be taken to involve citizens in a more constructive manner during disaster relief operations? How you make them voluntarily come and do the help?
You see, in Kerala, because there is something which NDMA, NDRF have, not NDRF. NDMA has started Abda Mitra or some organization where volunteers come. So in that place, there were many organizations who had come as volunteers, as organized volunteers, and somebody who was just a civilian, he joined in. And there were a lot of people who had established kitchens. The families, they themselves, without any instruction from anybody, they had established kitchen for food, of course. So, when we go, we don't carry our langar as people. Initially, it takes time to be established. But all the troops, in some manner or the other, were given some kind of a food from here and there till the time we also established. So, it can be organized. Now, that is the state administration which has to form some organization. There are organizations, I'm sure, in Chennai also. Number of them are there. Because here also, there were many people who were helping. So, these organizations needs to be, again, it's a question of connect. That the secretary now is a lady, Miss Amutha, I think, Tirumati Amutha. She is the revenue and the disaster management secretary. So I am sure they would be organized because, but I want to highlight like Tamil Nadu, Kerala generally are better than other states in functional efficiency, because I've seen disasters in all 4 states. So I will rate them because maybe they are facing also more. So maybe their functioning is better organized. So please don't convey to other states, but I'm online, so maybe I made a wrong, politically incorrect statement.
Sir, I know there are a lot of NGOs done a phenomenal work. I know a senior IAS officer from Assam cadre picked up so many things and which he coordinated to reach Wayanad. I know a lot of stories, a lot of questions come on.
So people, not from Kerala, people from all over in fact, India started coming there. In fact, there were too much of enthusiasm of everything. So, sometimes so another important point which was discussed, in a disaster of a major magnitude, it is the state which has to control and the area. Otherwise, so many people rushing, you block the road. Our bridge actually got delayed by an R plus or R2 plus because the roads were blocked. So this is minor management problem that the people who have to go there, there has to be, because so many eager people to reach and help or whatever you can call it. And sadly, maybe there was a term which was also, I read or somebody conveyed, there was disaster tourism. So, that should not happen.
Thank you, sir. I think fascinating evening. Admiral's role in peacetime. Ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause to Indian Army for doing a great service to the nation. We all live in peace because these are people who suffer. And I request Satyamurthy sir, please join me on stage. Sundaram and others will be to the honor presenting memento. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I really request all the armed forces officers who have joined us, you're most welcome to join us for more events. We do a lot of events. We do some 800 events in a year. Look forward to seeing you more, especially Army officers who are serving. It'll be a nice place to come and join us. When you get free time, come. It'll be really refreshing. Thanks, and thanks again. Each